Welcome back to Off the Course, the podcast where founders who haven't made their millions yet come to get honest and give actual advice that new founders can action. I'm your host Hattie, and today I'm joined by the brilliant Jessica Beale from Meliora Associates. Jessica went from virtual assistant to running her own team, and she's here to chat all things productivity, identity in business, and how building the right support network can change everything. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the All New and Off the Course podcast. Today I have a super exciting guest and I want to waste no time because this has taken us a long time to get booked in. We've been bouncing around for a good few months. So we're going to dive straight in and welcome Jess to the podcast and tell us a bit about yourself.
Of course. So, hello, my name's Jessica. I basically run a team of specialised associates. It's quite a new thing. Previously I was a virtual assistant, mainly in general admin. But now I'm bringing on a team of other people in marketing, bookkeeping, other admin assistants. So it's really exciting and just to support businesses on a larger scale basically.
Okay, and how is it that you kind of got into that? I feel like you hear a lot about sort of personal assistants and virtual assistants. Yeah. To me, it's my worst nightmare. I'm not organised. I need one. I could never be one. So how have you ended up kind of in this role?
Well, for me, I dropped out of school. I was really confused with what I was wanting to do. And I think where I dropped out of school so early, it gave me an opportunity to kind of choose what I wanted to learn and what I wanted to focus on. I also worked at an estate agency for a little while. That I absolutely loved it. I loved the organisation of it. I really loved just being able to speak and communicate with people and just see different places. I loved the client kind of side of it and also the organisation. After that, I was also then a bit lost again. I set up my own house and pet sitting business, and from there I realised how much there is that goes on behind the scenes of businesses, setting up the preparation, keeping up to date on clients, knowing the inside, ins and outs of clients. So there was just a lot that went into it. And then I started communicating and chatting more with different types of clients. And then I was I really love admin. I want to do it remotely. I don't know how to, so I was doing a lot of research. I did a lot of online courses around different things. And I saw virtual assistant pop up a few times and I was yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's for me. I'm not sure what to do here. But then it just kept coming back up on TikTok, just research that I was doing about working remotely, doing admin, supporting business owners, and I was right, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to tweak it to however I want it to be, because it's going to be a business, so I can make it how I want it to be. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
I love that. I think that a lot of people, especially founders and probably more product based, you hear the stories of, they needed a solution, they couldn't find one, so they built one. Whereas I think when you're more service-based like we are, it's not so much that there's a solution, you have a skill and you're kind of thinking, where does my skill sit?
Yeah.
Which feels almost more challenging. I always say, I don't know which is easier. I think both have easier and harder elements, but I think in terms of service side, actually building a career on a skill is a lot harder than having something that you needed fixing and you fixed it yourself.
100%. No, I agree, because it's you have to kind of prove yourself to the person, whereas if you have a product, the product is kind of proving it for you, if that makes sense. So it definitely is a lot more difficult, and I think you within yourself, you are the product, so you're having to learn how to sell yourself, learn how to market yourself. There's so many different components with it, so yeah, it's definitely a bit more of a challenge.
And how did you find that when you first became a founder? How did you find the transition with having to sell yourself? Did that come quite naturally to you, or is that something that you had to work on?
Definitely had to work on it. I used to be quite an anxious person, very shy. I'd never had any confidence when it came to speaking to people, especially strangers. Even though I loved speaking with people, it was more so just one-to-one. I was really bad at any sort of situation where it was more than one person. And especially communication wise, starting out just communicating with someone instantly off the bat, a stranger, I was I have no idea what I'm saying. What do I say next? I have to let the other person ask the questions. But over time that really grew, and I think I started forcing myself, I think maybe 3 months before I was going to launch my VA business, to just get out there, do online networking. And I really forced myself into that. And don't get me wrong, I was terrified every single time, but it really helped me. It pushed my confidence, and now I feel I'm a lot more better at it. Don't get me wrong, there's still like the times when I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. But I think when you just work through it, it really helps.
100%. And do you think doing the virtual networking helped you then in person, having kind of built almost that kind of middle stepping stone?
It definitely helped me. I'm still like a bit anxious when it comes down to certain in-person networkings, just because obviously there's like a newer component with that. Like you have to be a bit more aware of like how you're looking, you have to be more aware of like how you're composed and how you're holding yourself, and it's just like those anxious thoughts that, you know, can get in your brain about it. But I think it's definitely like needed to do. I try my best to like do at least one in-person networking event like a month, just to make sure that I have that consistency going there, because I feel like if you are kind of like a more nervous person, you can come out of it quite easily, and then you have to rebuild yourself back up, if that makes sense.
100%. And which events do you kind of prefer? If there was a kind of a certain style or someone who's in the same boat as you that's maybe a little bit more nervous, which events would you kind of recommend?
That is a good question. I mean, for me, local to my area, there's not many like great networking events. It's mainly just like you all go into a room and then you like walk around and you're like speaking to other people, and that is just like terrifying. Like pushing yourself into a conversation with someone else, like, oh my gosh, you feel so rude. It doesn't feel normal, it doesn't flow. It's really like not very nice to go into, but that's kind of the only type of networking events that are local to my area. But I think it would just be nice to like do something where it's like an activity and you're just communicating between each other and you're like learning about the other person, you're building up that connection with them. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, rather than it like say being walking in and speed dating style, you're actually just happen to be doing an activity and there happen to be other people there to chat to, is so much more natural. Obviously that's a whole premise of Orloon, and it really boggles my mind that networking hasn't developed from considering everything else in the world that's developing at the rate it is with AI and everything else. But networking's still stuck in the Stone Age. It honestly boggles my brain.
I know.
How are you finding managing a shift? You said you're now managing a team. That to most entrepreneurs is terrifying. I mean, never mind the networking. How are you finding having a team behind you?
I think it's really exciting. Like I said, I'm in like the really early stages of it, so I've literally just been like onboarding some people, and I have some more people that I'm onboarding today. So it's like really exciting. Obviously there's a lot that goes into it, but I think once you kind of find the right people and you're really like precise on the people that you want, and you're like, right, these are the types of traits that I want in someone, this is like, you know, the skills that they need to have, and you make sure that they align with your company values, I think it makes it so much more exciting, because you know that you've brought on the right people and they too are excited about your business, what you're doing. And so I think it makes it just much more of a fun process. I think there's definitely been some people who I've like spoken to, and I know that if I would have gone with them, this wouldn't be a fun experience right now, because I know that they wouldn't be 100% in it like, you know, they should be, and like I would want them to be, because, you know, it's a team setting, you know, we all work together. So yeah, I think that's a key.
And how do you differentiate between someone that you like and someone who is a good fit for the role? I feel like that's such a hard line to differentiate between.
I mean, for me, in my process, so what I did was I had a form that everyone would complete. I completely didn't look at names, and I just ranked their answers out of like 5 and just made it where it was very like systematical. And I also had a question in there where I was like, why would you want to be part of this team? And then just kind of like reflecting it against how I would want someone to answer the questions as well. I feel like that's kind of important, like making sure that they're showing like the values, the traits, the passion. That's like a really big thing within our team, is like you have to be passionate about what you do. So making sure that that all aligns, and like the top 10 people I will then go into interviews with, and then just kind of reflecting upon how they answer the questions, how their demeanour is, whether they seem excited about the opportunity or not, whether they continue following through on everything they were saying in the form. I think that's really important, because if you find that there's like some inconsistencies there, then most likely they weren't being honest in the form, and now they're kind of showing that true colour. So I think that's really important.
That's such a good idea. I never thought of that. So will they all be having different roles? Are you managing across different roles, or is the whole team doing the same role?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have two marketers. Maybe I'm kind of like the marketers, they're still being onboarded, we're still working things out, but I'm wanting to specialise every role and service that we offer on things that they actually enjoy doing and that they're actually passionate about. Because you often find that a lot of freelancers or self-employed individuals, they will be like, okay, I'm going to offer all of these services because I want to make sure that I'm getting the money, I'm not like losing any clients, but I really want the people who I bring on to be passionate and enjoy what they do, because this is like a long-term commitment type thing. So that's a really key thing. And then I'm bringing on 2 bookkeepers and 2 admin assistants. And then as time goes on, I would like to grow and like expand that. But that's just like the starting block, because a lot of business owners, you need that bookkeeping, you need that marketing, you need that admin assistants.
Yeah, if I had to hire 3, they'd be my 3.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the core key features to like keep that consistency going in your business.
That's so exciting. And what kind of industries do you work across, or are you quite varied with obviously onboarding so many?
Yeah, for sure. So mainly it's service-based businesses, but we can really work with anyone. I feel like you can just easily tailor yourself to many different types of businesses. I know that personally I've worked with quite an array of like different entrepreneurs, different business owners, and I love it. At the end of the day, when you kind of like really strip everything away, the business model is the same. It's always more or less going to be the same if you really just take everything away. So it's quite easy to like adapt to their working styles, their business model, etc. So yeah.
And do you find that entrepreneurs all are similar? Do you think that there's kind of, so I've worked for a few different entrepreneurs in different startups, not necessarily freelance, I've done a bit of both. And I have certain traits that I think all entrepreneurs, and I used to complain about them, and now I have the exact same traits. So it'd be interesting to hear kind of what your experience is.
I think oftentimes a lot of business owners, they will kind of like boost themselves up about things, like say that they're really consistent or they're really organised when maybe they're not as much in certain areas of their business or just within their life in general. I think it's one of those things where we sometimes like to think that we're something, but then kind of like portraying it within, you know, action and like putting action into our words, it doesn't always like correspond and relay the same. So I think oftentimes I do see that, like I will have to check in with clients, I will have to like prompt them and be like, okay, you know, how is this coming along? What's going on here? Which is perfectly fine. I enjoy it. It's okay for me. But it's just like sometimes I do see that some people, they don't quite follow through on their word.
I'm one of them.
I mean, it happens. Yeah, we get kind of like overwhelmed and there's so much going on, so I completely get it.
No, you're absolutely right. And will you continue doing VA work, or will you be just working on the business and managing your team now?
It depends. If it's, say, for instance, like really small retained hours that people are looking for, so like maybe under 5 hours, then, you know, I can take that on and that'll be fine. But apart from that, it'll mainly just be my associates. And I'll be kind of like managing the client interactions, the check-in calls with them. I'll be kind of handling that and making sure that they're happy with how things are going, making sure the associates are happy, making sure work's being done on time, expectations are going above and beyond, and things like that.
That's so interesting. I think it's really hard to manage that balance between working on and in. It's definitely something that I'm trying to balance at the minute. And I saw someone time blocking on their calendar, and they had, although it was fairly loose, but they had pretty much every single hour blocked.
Yeah.
That to me feels terrifying. That feels so restrictive and against everything. Part of the reason kind of why I became a founder. How do you normally work? How do you time block? Do you time block? What's your sort of process?
I do time block. I do have like my whole day planned. However, I think you have to give yourself leniency with things, because life gets in the way, things happen. You can't ever just kind of, you know, stick to that time block, like it's never really going to be possible. There's always things that just come up out the blue. So for me, I do have a schedule that I stick to, and I always try to at least make it where like my mornings are free for things. So like client work, making sure work is completed within that morning, and then anything extra that comes in, that can be done in the afternoon, and then also allowing myself to maybe have like an afternoon out now and again, and just letting myself, you know, go out and be like, you know, this is what we're doing this for. Like you said, we come into this to have that sort of freedom, so you have to really like appreciate it and like allow yourself to have it now and again, as long as you've focused and you've made sure that, you know, client work is done. Also, I feel like to-dos, I think that is really important. Having a to-do list, making sure you write down like the most important things that you need to get done in that day, along with other things that you would like to get done, and making sure you've got like that first portion of your to-do list completed. I think that's really important, making sure that you're planning things and being aware on whether you're procrastinating or not. Oftentimes we can just kind of sit there and we can be like, oh, you know I have like this client work that I need to get done, and then we're just kind of sitting with it, and then we're feeling like worse off because we're not getting it done, and then we're just doing other fun things because we're like, this is making me feel better, this is productive, but it's not what I need to get done today. So just making sure that you're not, you know, doing that.
I heard that procrastination is a stress reliever from a business coach, and I was like, oh, do you know what? That is so true. And I also, so I am a serial, well, I'm no longer, I'm in remission, planner purchaser. And I plan my day and I do it for a day and then I don't follow it. And then the next day I plan my day and then I don't follow it. So it's, and again, it's that dopamine hit of I've done the planning, but actually the bigger dopamine hit is getting the work done. And I do thrive under pressure. I know I do. So I think I almost sometimes self-sabotage and create pressure by leaving things to produce higher quality work, which is so bad, and I'm really working on it. And I try and kind of workload into the first half of the week so that the second half I have time to take the meetings. You know, I've got a couple of meetings today. I don't normally have any meetings on a Friday. Again, just to kind of create that pressure for myself. What's sort of the one or two sort of pieces of advice you would give to a business owner who's kind of maybe they're in the place where they could do with some support, but maybe financially don't have the funds yet, or they're not quite ready to make the leap into bringing a team member on, but they need that, let's say, assistant support? What are a couple of things that they could do to boost their productivity?
Definitely. I mean, definitely have systems in place. That is a huge factor. Have like SOPs, make sure that you have like systems for everything and they're automated. I know it takes a lot of time to set up, but like dedicate a weekend to it and you're going to feel so much better. It really does help your business. It helps streamline things. You know that yourself, you're not going to be like running around and just be like, oh my gosh, where did I put this? Where's that? Like, you know that it's all in one set place. You know that it's all in like your product management software, or you know it's all in like your Google Workspace or something. Like, you know where you keep everything, and you know that if you're like onboarding a client, that the process is going to be seamless and that you don't really have to be that in on it, because it's just kind of automated for you. So definitely systems, automation, create SOPs. That also really helps when you're bringing in somebody else, because then they know what your systems already are and you don't have to kind of like waste that time on trying to work them out together. Create those SOPs. So definitely recommend that.
Okay, I love that. I love the idea of automation. So I try to use Notion. Now, my biggest thing is that if there's something there for me to use, I will use it. But the thought of setting something up and spending the hours and hours and hours setting something up just doesn't appeal, so it just doesn't get done. So I do kind of think, is it potentially worth you, if you are on a budget, paying someone to get you set up and then you can run with it?
100%. I think it does really help because it gives you that starting boost that you kind of need. And you'll find that, especially with like onboarding clients, offboarding clients, you're in that whole process the whole time. You're sending the emails, you're sending the invoices, you're sending the contracts. Like, you have to be 100% there, spending that time within that. And sometimes, like, even for people who suffer with like ADHD and stuff, like, that's going to make that process even longer, because, you know, you can't really focus on it all sometimes, or, you know, something pops up, you get like an email notification and you're like, oh, let me just check that. And so like, you can be all over the place sometimes, and it's better to have it all automated and knowing like, this is my process, this is what this platform, this software is going to be doing, and just knowing that, you know, you don't have to rely on yourself and your memory, basically.
Yeah, my memory's terrible. I've recently rediscovered the Reminders app in iPhone. And do you know what? I'm obsessed. I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I do.
It's so good.
It
I don't know why I get so much hate. What would be, if I had to strip away all of your software and you could have three, what would your three pieces of software be that you can't live without?
Well, at the moment we're using ClickUp, and I have been going through that. Don't get me wrong, it has so many different components and features, like it can be really overwhelming to people, but it has so many features. That's like so amazing. Like it has everything in one place and it's really valuable. So definitely that. I use Yonos for like web hosting and my emails and all of that kind of stuff. And I have like my associates' emails within there as well. So I think that's pretty handy, just knowing that you have a professional email. I think oftentimes I see a lot of business owners who don't have professional emails set up, and I highly recommend that you do. It helps, you know, when you're selling yourself to somebody or you're just communicating with someone, to look professional and like you know what you're doing. And then the other one, I don't know. That's a great question. I think it would just mainly be those two. I think those two are the main ones for me at the moment. I can't think of anything else right now, but those are amazing.
Okay, so the first one, I'd not heard of that, was a ClickUp.
ClickUp.
And what's that? What does that do?
It's a project management software. It's really well known, so it's like, you know, Monday, Trello, etc.
Yeah.
And it has everything in it. It has reminders, it does time tracking, project management for like all over your company. It has, you know, notes, reminders. It can integrate with your email. It has like documents and folders within there that you can create. So you can create like your SOPs, keep it all in one place. You can create like different spaces, and yeah, it's just really great. You can have like direct communication with like your team and with clients within there. Like it has everything in one hub. It's really good.
That is really cool. I was just going to mention kind of Slack for communication, but I guess that too.
Exactly. So I like it when everything's in one place. I think it feels so much better, and especially when you're bringing on other team members, like you want to have everything in one place, because otherwise they're going to get overwhelmed, things are going to get forgotten, things are going to get left behind. So knowing that it's all in one place is just, it's so much more refreshing.
Completely agree. And what's going forward for you in terms of marketing? What's your strategy? Where are you looking now for your clients? What's the plan going forward?
Definitely. So most of my clients that I've got have been networking and referrals. That's just mainly how I've got most of my clients. And for me, I'm not a salesy person. Like, I love just speaking to someone and being like, okay, you know, tell me about what you need support with, or like, let's just talk about virtual assistant, because not many people know about it, as you mentioned before. So that's been like a huge factor for me, and I'm definitely going to continue that. I do have someone who's going to be doing like lead gen for me as well, and I've contacted like a few different companies, and I'm really high on going with people that you really like align with. And for them, I really like the way that they do it. They don't do it in like a spammy, salesy way. Like, it's just purely, you know, asking people, speaking to people. Like, there's nothing, you know, weird about it. So for that, I really value like that company, and they're wanting to put things in the way that, you know, I like it to be, and, you know, our kind of community value and company values, I mean, including those. And I think it's really important. So those are like the key components for bringing in clients at the moment.
I think it's nice to hear someone not say social media. We're so we don't, not that social media is easy, trust me, it's not easy, but I feel like we lean on it quite a high percentage of owners put it a lot higher in their strategy than maybe traditional marketing methods. I mean, I am hosting an event locally, and I'm literally picking up the phone and cold calling. I'm back to my cold calling roots, you know, trying to grow this event. And I do think that we miss those expertise and the times when we would actually just go and talk to people. Like you said, I'm the same. The vast, I think 98% of my clients have always been from referrals, which speaks volumes about my work, which is amazing. And I always feel a bit more appreciative about that.
100%.
But I think those clients often, then you're more likely to be aligned with you because they've come from someone who's aligned with you.
100%. Because I know that most of my people who have been referred to me, like client-wise, they're amazing. I love working with them, and it's so nice to just like know who they came from, and that person referred me, because I know that they see the value in what they're getting. And it's like another thing to kind of, you know, say to you, like, you know, you are doing great, you've got this, like, people are seeing what you're doing, people are taking value in it. Like, I think that's really nice. But yeah, I think it is really important to just get out there, speak to people. It is missing. I think too often we're seeing like ads, we're seeing so much stuff online that it's just overwhelming. Like, if someone wants to look up someone online, you know, there's like 100 different people to do something. Like, it's so much. And I think it's just so much nicer when they can just be like, oh, you know, I spoke to this lovely person, like, they do this, they're like here, wherever, and you know, they were just so nice and like open and communicative, and I think it's just so much nicer. It's a breath of fresh air.
I agree, and like I said, I think there's so much kind of higher value in that of, you know, it's the biggest form of confidence, and you know, isn't it, a flattery for someone to refer you, and because that, if you were then rubbish, that would break down their relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, a Google review is great, but a referral is just so much better.
Even better, yeah.
100%. So I'd love to kind of go a little bit more into your associates. Are they going to be doing their own marketing, or is that all going to be run by you? How's that working for you?
Yeah, for sure. So it's all under me basically. So they're all going to be self-employed. That's like the key thing with this. I feel like with what we do, I'm really like pushing that you don't have to hire in-house for certain things. I think a lot of people, especially business owners, we kind of feel pushed into hiring and employing, and so I'm really being like, you know, you don't have to, like, you will save money not employing. There's just so many different things that go into it, and like, yeah, there's just so much. I could go on about it for ages. So I'm wanting to bring on people who are self-employed as well, and kind of like, you know, proving within what I'm doing, like, you know, I'm also working with people who are self-employed. They're also doing amazing and incredible. I found amazing and incredible people, so you know, they will help you as well. So I think that's just like a really big thing.
I spoke to a couple of founders recently who were talking about the self-employed versus employed, and they'd gone, oh yeah, I want employed, I want more control. And then they employed a load of people and went, this is awful. I don't want to pay tax. I don't want to pay the pensions. I don't want to have to deal with sick leave, and have now gone back to getting self-employed in, and yeah, you'll pay more per hour, but actually in terms of the workload required and all the additional expenses, you know, there's a client of mine who they wanted to hire they have someone in-house, and they were looking to hire someone else for their marketing team as well as myself, who is self-employed. But they were, you know, they didn't have any software, and they're like, well, we need to buy software, and I was like, yep. I'm like, well, how much is this? I was like, well, that's £170 a month. That's £180 a month. That's £40 a month. I was like, you start adding all those things up, and actually that £40 an hour feels quite cheap.
Definitely.
And I think if you're a business owner who hasn't worked in a certain industry, for example, marketing, you would never know how much goes into that. You know, I think my monthly outgoing is like £500 just on software. That's just the bare minimum, really.
It does get crazy. It really does. I've done like quite a lot of research on how much like the difference between, you know, hiring like a virtual assistant or, you know, having someone who's employed, and there's like a huge difference in it. I think it's about like maybe 10 grand a year that you can save. Like, it is immense, because obviously you have to remember that when you're bringing someone on like a self-employed basis, you're paying for the work that they do, whereas like if you bring someone on even like part-time, you know, they could just be having like a break, or you know, they're not 100% focused, and you can't control that because they're getting paid from like, you know, 8 to 12 or 8 to 5 or whatever. So like, you know, it doesn't work. But yeah.
No, I completely agree. And as someone who's worked as a marketer in-house and freelance, I definitely care more freelance. I know it shouldn't be that way, but you just do. You can choose what works for you. And there's been clients or prospect calls that have come through and said, actually, do you know what, I'm just not the right one for you. This is not a relationship that's going to go well. Whereas if you're employed and you get dumped with something on your desk, and you've got to just deal with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's just such more of like a breath of fresh air for not only the client, but for yourself, because you know that you can choose who you work with. They know that they can choose who they work with. They know that they can kind of like see the results beforehand as well. Like, you can, you know, speak to referrals, speak to, you know, other testimonials, whatever. Like, you have so much more going for you than you do like in an employed role. And yeah, there's just so much that you have to pay, and it just gets a bit crazy. I think that obviously there's some roles that, you know, you have to employ, but I think when it comes down to like marketing, bookkeeping, accountancy, I mean, like, they can be done remotely. Like, it is possible, and it's going to save you money, it's going to save you time, your like productivity within your business is going to increase, your consistency is going to increase. Like, it's so much better.
No, I 100% agree. So I would love to just kind of, before we finish, go on to moving forward. Obviously for you have these big dreams. If we were to catch up in 3 years' time, what's the business going to look like? What's the dream?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I have like some very long-term goals, but kind of like more short term, I really want it to become, I know obviously at the start it's going to be more like people are going to be coming in for either like admin or marketing. They're probably the main two that people will come in for, and so I'm wanting it to become a thing where eventually we're supporting a business as a whole, so like marketing, bookkeeping, assistant, like admin assistancy, and then as time goes on, it would be great if we could like maybe bring in like accountants, bring in like other areas of the businesses, maybe even specialize and break down that marketing even more, and do it where it's like this is like a team for, you know, web design, a team for like SEO, whatever, breaking it down like a lot more. I think that would be really cool, specializing more into certain things. But yeah, I think just really, you know, breaking it down, getting those defined clients and people in place so then we can support those clients more. I think that would be really great. And then yeah, just supporting businesses as a whole. That's like the key thing. That's the main thing I want to do.
Love that. No, I think that's so good. And I think, like I say, you kind of almost become a one-stop shop to be able to pick up, I need that skill and I need that skill, and be able to come to you and just ask for everything would be amazing.
Definitely. No, I think it's really nice because also when you're trying to find people, it takes time, and it's quite a process, and just knowing like, you know, oh, Jessica, she has like all these people in one place, I think it is just so much more relieving than having to be like, right, I have an admin assistant, they're great, they're amazing, but now I need marketing, I need help with that, I need to help like, you know, keep that consistency going there, like social media, whatever it is, and then you have to go out and find someone else once you've kind of like, you know, used up all that time that admin assistant has kind of saved you. Yeah, it gets exhausting.
The hours spent, I've literally just started the hunt for a co-founder for Orloon, and the hours I've already put into trying to find somebody is crazy, and I know full well it's going to be a massive time expense for me. It will obviously pay off in the long run, but I can't imagine having to do it for everything else. So like I say, to be able to come to one place would be great.
Definitely. I think it is really important to just like, you know, take time with it, and really do take time with it, because oftentimes we can get really swept up in like knowing that it's taken a lot of time and wanting to speed up that process, but like you have to find someone who's perfect. You have to find that person who, like, when you look back on the call that you had with them, you're like, no, I really love this person, and know why you love them, and not because, you know, of like how they were like you or something, if that makes sense.
No, that's so true. This is my biggest worry, that I will struggle to separate. I think I'm going to have to bring someone else onto the calls, because I will massively struggle to separate who I like as a person and who's good for the job.
Yeah, definitely do that. It would be great.
So I have 2 questions that I ask everybody at the end. There's an easy and a hard one. So which would you prefer first?
Let's go hard first.
Hard first. Everyone chooses hard first. It's definitely a founder thing. So what is one thing that you don't know that you kind of feel like maybe you should know, or maybe you think other founders know but you don't? So for example, mine was, I don't really understand how VAT works. I don't really get where that goes. That just feels bizarre to me. And I feel like everyone else knows. Turns out nobody does. But yeah, what's something you don't know that you think you probably should?
That's a really good question, actually. I think for me, it's just SEO. I'm learning about it. I think it's so complex. There's so many like layers to it.
Yeah.
And obviously that's why I'm bringing on someone who knows about it. But yeah, there's so many different layers to it, and I'm like, I get part of it, but then when I've like feel like I've understood something, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like so much more that I'm not understanding. So I'd love to kind of just get to the end of that at one point and be like, I understand all of this. But yeah, definitely need to do some more research about that.
I think that's a really good one, actually. I think, like I say, you can know the basics and the top line of it, but actually when you start looking at how much is underneath it, you go, oh no, this is huge. So the easy question then is, I give you a call and I say, right, I'm just stopping by a coffee shop, a tea shop, whatever. What am I grabbing you?
I think for me, if it's available, I would love like a lychee bubble tea with strawberry like popping pearls. I have become obsessed with it. I think it's like a sensory thing for me. I love it, and the flavour of it is really nice, so that would definitely be what it would be for me.
That is so different. You know, mostly I just get people go, I don't drink tea and coffee. So I love that. I've not had that one yet.
No, I love it. It's so good. I've like gone through all the different flavours now. We go to like this one place and we like nearly finished like the whole list of all the different flavours, but it's really good.
No, I love that. That's so cool. I'm much more of a matcha girl myself, I must admit.
Very nice.
But again, I am working through all the different flavours.
You have to try them all.
I'll try it. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on. I hope that you've enjoyed your time and it's been really helpful. It's been really interesting to hear about the business. It's something that I've never really heard of before, so I'm quite excited to see how it grows for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. It has been amazing.
Good. Well, thank you so much. And where can we find you on socials, online?
Mainly on LinkedIn. That's kind of like all I really use. It's just Jessica Bill. And then my business name is Meliora Associate, so you'll see us.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure we tag you in the comments as well. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Yes, definitely. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to All Loon Off the Course, the space where women building businesses don't do it alone. If you loved today's episode, make sure to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a fellow founder who needs to hear this. I'm Hattie, and I'll see you next time.